Okay, this is a brief run through of how to answer a question 2 or 3 9-mark question on the Edexcel RS philosophy paper. The style that I'm recommending can of course be used for your religion paper and your ethics paper as well. That this answer is weighted with 3 marks AO1 and 6 marks AO2, which means that 3 marks will be used to show knowledge and understanding and use specialist terminology. But the AO2 descriptors are the ones that really dominate this question. A lot of your AO1 credit comes from the way that you explain your AO2, and the AO2 is about showing analysis and evaluative skills which will be underpinned by knowledge and understanding. In most of these questions ask you to look at strengths and weaknesses, argumentation, for and against, and ask you to make a number of reasoned judgments. The most important ideas addressed here on the mark scheme are that you'll show a wide range of knowledge, specialist language. You have to deconstruct arguments, so this would be the ontological argument we're deconstructing here, and you need to produce your own coherent and logical chains of reasoning. If we have a little look at the mark scheme, what you'll see here is that on the mark scheme it actually talks about, this is my highlighting from a training day that I went on, it talks about you producing reasoned judgments, and it's important to notice that this is plural, so that means that through your argument at several stages you will produce, in a sense, mini conclusions on aspects of the argument rather than just an overall conclusion as to whether or not the argument fails. So it's much more intelligent to spot the weaker parts of the argument in a distinct way, and that's what analysis really is, than it is to just tell us whether you are in favour of the argument generally or not. So hopefully we'll see some opportunities for mini conclusions and several or enough reasoned judgments here. So just like with the 8-mark question, you're going to start off by introducing your answer, showing key definitions and showing a willingness to reply to this exact question wording. So you might refer to strengths, you might explain what the ontological argument is and how it links to an argument for the existence of God. And the second section of your answer is going to introduce the first key scholar, and I think a phrase that will be handy to you for a question that asks you specifically to assess the strengths is to say one of the main strengths of this aspect of the argument is, and then to follow it after your brief explanation with your view in your words, a sentence long. You should then say another strength of this is, or another feature that provides a strength is. This shows the examiner that you're trying to produce a range of arguments. And just like the first question, where you're looking at, I think, trying to score about 4 marks per paragraph, I would argue that you're trying to do similar here. And the next thing you'll be looking to do is in a second paragraph, you'll be looking to provide an explanation of a second scholarly viewpoint with justification as to whether they provide a stronger solution or not. And you're trying to deal with this argument feature by feature so that again you prevent a range of views, or a range of strengths rather. And I know that when the question wording says strengths, there's always the question of does this mean we can talk about weaknesses? Well, I asked this question to the examiner, and I think it's a valid question, and it is a challenge when you're asked about strengths. The answer is that if you're asked to talk about strengths, then that's what you must talk about. Now, you could talk about a weakness, but you wouldn't refer to it as a weakness. You would say, however, this aspect of the argument is not a strength because. It might sound like a simple change, but it's a very important one. It means you're dealing with the question that the examiner is asking you. Now, depending on the structure that you go for here, you might wind up producing 2 sections to this essay or 3 slightly briefer aspects. Now, I've seen the exemplars given out by the exam board, and they have given us examples where the answer that scores 9 marks is not broken into separate sections. So I've written as a final bit of advice that if you have a material from a third key scholar or a different challenge that you want to mention or another strength that you want to mention, then I think you should do so. But where possible, try to end your answer with the question wording, so you would end it with the ontological argument for the existence of God, or you might make those, that's an acronym obviously, but you might make that your final piece of wording, so that at the start and the end you've shown the examiner that you're answering their question. I'm now going to try to give you an example to this question that would work for both a question 2 or a question 3. I'm only going to show you for the ontological argument though. So this is the start of a model answer. The ontological argument is an a priori, just having a look at some of the keywords that you might underline in the exam. Sorry, it's a bit scruffy. A priori justification for the existence of God. The main strengths, there we go, I'm using the question wording now, for this argument are provided by Anselm and presented in 2 forms. The general strength is that they logically suggest that God must exist, so I think language like that is important because it shows you understand the essence of the argument. And we cannot imagine a greater being. This means God must exist by definition, as otherwise God would not be the greatest conceivable being. And now we're moving into AO2 when we use a challenge to this. However, can't challenge this as he states that we cannot define God into existence. And rightly, now I'm putting that word there, rightly suggests to show my judgment. So I'm suggesting Kant is correct in this challenge, and the strength of that part of the ontological argument fails. Adding existence to something or removing it does not change its definition. This is because the definition already exists. So I think this is a decent first evaluative paragraph, but we need to move to a second in order to get full credit. Okay, and here's the second paragraph where I've tried to use the material from the exemplars just to construct an answer here that I think would work, but I think I've put in more reasoned judgments because in the exemplar it didn't have too many, and I think that we need to relate to the question more. So the argument says that the first form of the argument is that nothing great can be greater than God. God must necessarily exist, as if he were contingent, then we could imagine something greater. This is a strength. This is the this is the important part of the wording that I want you to use. This is the strength of the argument as, and then it's normally very simple when you're finding the strength. It's normally the essence of what it is in itself. So you could say something like, as it satisfies the believer's view that God is a true omni-being. A further strength, so we're saying, look, examiner, I'm doing another one, of Anselm's reply is that he focuses on the absurdity of denying God de dicto. This is debatable as a strength. As Hume pointed out, that existence is not a coherent concept, so this is another reasoned judgment. Sorry about the capital letter, sorry about the scruffy. As existence is strictly for contingent properties. Nevertheless, Anselm holds the strength of suggesting that the atheist or tool, which is in Psalm 14:1, who denies God must have failed to understand the term, and therefore misunderstood, and then I've ended on the question wording there to try and maximise the chances to get full marks. So I think that's a pretty good example. I hope it's useful to you, and good luck. This is for question 2 and 3 on the AS paper style-wise.